This talk is going to be about API management, but before we get into it, I must just say this is quite a great venue. I think you should host the Sydney Node.js here more often. I think everyone has enjoyed it. And I must say there's been a lot of test-driven development. And I just wanted to ask how many cats were tested. It's just a management test, you know. But basically, I just want to ask the audience a couple questions so I can gauge I want it to be engaging in the beginning, so I'm able to pace through the next 10 minutes. It's not a long talk. It's just a gist of what API management is and why you should actually be looking at it, especially if you're building microservices. So, API management. What does it mean to you guys if we talk about API management? And if you put up your hand, that's cool, but if no hands go up, I can't talk through it. Okay. Well, okay, so no problem. API management is basically a set of methodologies. That's how you actually control all the various APIs that would exist within your organization. And there's many things that would be contributing to what is good API management and how this would actually mean to you. Is because I'm sure every single one of us has written APIs that has been exposed to the world, either for our web app or for our mobile apps that we interact with, and we actually need to know more about it, but just haven't had time to put in the telemetrics that is involved. So basically, we're going to be covering how can this API management be employed in the delivery of microservices so that you're able to deliver microservices more often without doing the heavy lifting every single time that you deploy a microservice. So that's the buzzword that has come from 2016, maybe 2015, and it's gone into 2017. And the idea of microservices is that you build a very, very slim interface that does one job very well. So if you have to think about the Unix way of thinking, one of the questions that was asked, what is the difference between a microservice and a normal web service? It's all about trying to keep things as simple as possible for each team to have their own ability to release each bit of the orchestration one at a time, or have a different release cycle. So if you're looking at microservices, it's all about composability. I'm just going to put this down. Okay, let's power off. So the idea is that you do one thing very well with microservice. We're going to time travel twice this evening, all right, and it's all going to go back to 2002 and how we're going to go into delving about why you need this API management. So in 2002, everyone pushed that your application needed to be accessible through the web, and that was the key word being accessibility through the web, that you could interface with the web browser or even have little drop-in JavaScript snippets that you would expose to your different consumers for them to use your widgets and to consume your service. But then Steve Jobs said, okay, well, we're now going to bring the revolution to a glass pane, and that way we actually said, okay, all our applications need to be mobile first, and the accessibility is on the small little compact device that you want your users to interact with your application. So it's all about the accessibility, that on the move you can access it. But there's been a few thought leaders who have been pushing this API first revolution. And exactly what does that mean? And that means is that you expose your APIs as a first-class citizen so that programs and other consumers are able to interact with your platform as accessible means of driving your product. So, why is API first appealing? We're all in the market of actually producing a product. And sometimes our APIs are not the product. So if you have to look at the likes of eBay, they're there to sell stuff, but they're not there to sell API calls to enlist items to be listed on their website. They want to be involved in the purchasing. And doing it this way, they've actually introduced a lot of organic growth that is outside the team, which is basically what you're looking for, is that you want other users outside of your team to employ your APIs to grow as a platform to build your product. Your company makes money if it can sell more product, and that's the summary of it. It's about the platform that you want to expose when you're doing APIs. So we're going to time travel one more time. So API first in 2002, the first person who, or first company that said they want to do this API first, Jeff, the CEO of Amazon, he sent out this mandate. And we're just basically going to read through it, is because I know some people can't read the bottom line, and the bottom line is the important part over here. So, number one, all teams henceforth will expose their data and functionality through the interfaces. So he was telling all the developers to implement this. Teams must communicate with each other through these interfaces. There should be no form of inter-process communications allowed, no direct linking, no reading from the data, another team's data store or database. This mandate said that you will only call over the network. If you did any of the other shady stuff, you will get fired. I'm not lying, that's exactly what the executive order said. But the very last part was the changer in terms of being the API first. All service interfaces, without exception, must be designed from the ground up to be externalized. Emphasis is, that is to say, the team must plan and design to expose the interface to developers to the outside world. No exceptions. So if I have to ask you this question in terms of the API that you're building today, and you're told that it needs to be accessible to the public tomorrow when you deploy it, what will you do? So basically, that's where API management will be coming into, and we're going to be answering that question. But I just want to draw a parallel to why we actually want microservices and the challenges that Amazon had to go through from 2002 till today. Even though they've got a success story, is that our jobs are made easier using API management. So the idea is that we need to expose our data easily to other developers. We must use standard protocols, REST, JSON, XML if you really want to. And have those contracts that you never ever break with any other person or other program. And all the APIs to be exposed and consumable within the public domain. Yes, this is a scary proposition, so we're going to explore the API management services, but let's first look what you would have to provision before you can actually expose your API to the world. And the reason why you actually, when you explore this in terms of what Amazon had to learn, is simply that it's hard. So developer support is going to be your number one priority. You want to onboard developers as quickly as possible. You want them to actually plan, to actually know that they are going to be going against a contract that's well defined and your team has advertised to the world. Also, your developers are not going to be very savvy that connect to it, especially if they're going outside of your organization. So if you have to talk to other developers about CORS, HATIOS, or RESTful, or any other acronym that you would expect your team member to know, you cannot expect that for external developers to know. And the reason for, that you should be more forgiving is that you want your product to grow. That means your company has more profit. The other thing is that when you expose your API to the world, that means everyone's going to be watching you. You will be attacked, either by denial of service or that people are going to abuse your system in ways that you don't know. So you need to find ways to mitigate that ahead of time. Quality assurance, we had excellent talks about test-driven development and one of the testing suites, but when you're in production, monitoring and quality assurance go hand in hand. And the reason for that is that you need to ensure that your response times are timeless. The correctness of the response are not failing. That's not giving the wrong result, especially if you're piloting a new API design or new API implementation. Your services need to be durable. Can it handle faults? And then also resiliency. How does it react to the faults? So these are things that need to be abstracted and implemented by your microservices, which is really easy with Node, is because you might have a node mon or have Injects handling that all for you, but the thing is that it will fail if you have to expose your API to the world and allow everyone full access to it. The other thing is this discoverability of your API. If you ever try to find out how an API works from a vendor, especially if you are doing a payments processing vendor, it's very, very difficult to get the exact implementation details that you need to implement. So you need to actually make your services discoverable and for people wanting to use your service so they are able to make a profit and they will drive your product and use your platform to make more sales. So we spoke about API management, but let's actually see it how it actually works. But before we get to that, there's various systems that vendors have developed to actually isolate API management, and I'm going to go through the various high-level boxes just to describe what it is. I'm not going to be pushing a certain platform. It's just about the ideas behind what API management brings to your organization. So you might have all these microservices, API 1, 2, and 3, and API management is this black box that I'm now going to explain to you. You may have products that you expose through your API management. Now they use the word products in terms of to say, well, do you want the gold package or the silver package or the bronze package? Maybe you want to set policies in terms of how they are rate limited and how these policies are connected to each other to your API backend. So basically being a proxy to ensure that the policies are enforced and that you are able to control your microservice behind this API management, which also happens to have a dev portal. Now this dev portal will have your contracts that you're going to expose to the world, and you are able to guarantee that whatever you publish onto this dev portal by your publishers of your API 1, 2, and 3 teams are going to be stable and that the onboarding experience is excellent. So when developers get interested, here comes the natural few bar where we said, okay, what we want to do is that the few app wants to use our product A. or our silver package. But bar is interested in API 2 and 3, and only product B offers that. So they would subscribe to that, but it doesn't actually stop them from subscribing to multiple products, and your policies are able to engage on what is the higher threshold or what they should be sold if they have these combination of APIs. Now the thing is that you need to remember what does the dev portal bring to the table, and that is about the discoverability. Your API management will also help you with protecting from denial of service attacks. It will also have SLAs. It will monitor your APIs, and it's a central point that your organization can monitor to ensure that your APIs as a whole throughout the organization is behaving in a standard fashion. Now, you can go and create every single service that you have with all these API management features. And the thing is that you don't really want to do that for several reasons, but I'm going to give you 6 of them. So the current API consumers are small. You might reason to say, this API is only going to be for consumption by this team. We're not going to see more than 100 requests a day. You never underestimate the natural growth that your API could have. If your product that you have is excellent, you are going to have people wanting to use your platform. Your API is easy to understand. I've already gone through all the acronyms that not every other member within your organization is going to be aware on HTOS, RESTful, or how to do calls. It's easy to control access to your API. So I'm going to give a scenario. First, we can do things called authentication, or basically authorization, to say whether to allow a person in or out of your API. But the very next request that you get within a week is like, we actually want different service levels for our API. It's because, this client is really important to us. We know that they drive a lot of business. We want them to do 1,000 requests per second. But everyone else, about 10, until they send a special support ticket, which you would know if you were using AWS, which happens to have learned this. You may also use the API management to monitor your vendors. And the way that you actually do this is that you're reversing their API and publishing it onto a portal for other consumers or other people within your organization to use. So they'll subscribe to your product to say, I want to know all about stock ticker information. And you've got this special link to the stock exchange where you would get updates to the nanosecond, and you want to expose that to your internal users. Now, how do you ensure that they are responding within the microseconds or the milliseconds that they promise? And what is the highest percentile and what is the lowest percentile? You will probably have to re-implement this over and over again for every single consuming application. But if you reverse it and put it into API management, you've got it in a central place and you're able to monitor that. Your API is not so special. It's not a snowflake. But the API management can make composition of your APIs, which I'll explain a little bit later, in terms of that you are able to take your API that was designed for mobile and now all of a sudden needs to be IoT enabled. How would you do that? A good API management will be able to support the translation between multiple protocols such as SOAP to JSON, or maybe from SOAP all the way to MQTT, which is what the IoT people would use. And then there's no money in API. Now, when we actually look at your API, yes, maybe you will never make money directly from the API. But just remember, your API exists because you've got a product. And the product that you're selling is what drives revenue. And that revenue will grow organically and will outstretch your team members' capacity to deliver that, because, well, other people are using it. They're driving more traffic to your product. You want that to grow without your direct input. You want them to organically grow. So the other API and use cases, well, if you have to deal with soap, you can move it to REST. You can also monitor your vendors to determine if they are lying to you about the SLA, is because you've got a central point that you build confidence in to say that it monitors my API. I know when my API is up and down. Now, if I'm able to monitor my vendor through that same mechanism, I can say with confidence that there's an issue with this a vendor's API. The other use case is monetization. So maybe you can start charging to use your API, which is great. Or you can assign it to a cost center. Your boss will love you, is because when accounting starts to send 1,000 invoices through your emails microservice, you know exactly how much to charge them for it, and these costs of RT is broken down to the different cost centers of the consumers. And then there's composability. All these small little APIs that we have are small little Lego blocks. All we need to do is plug it in together so that we are able to create a new type of service. So a new API that is specifically tailored for a certain use case. And you don't have to go and write another service to do this for you and how to manage it. It's a good API management would be able to interleave that. So the conclusion is that it's all about the platform you're building. It's not about APIs. APIs is just a way to actually drive product growth, and you want to have that product. So encourage to actually do what Jeff from Amazon mandated his developers to do, otherwise they were fired. Because the idea is that you want to expose your API to the external world as soon as possible, because you don't know how other people are going to use you, and you might just strike gold. Publishers and consumers, they need to be first-class citizens. Documentation is always taunted as being poor. We should make it better, and it needs to be repeatable. It needs to be the same format. It needs to be accessible to the developers. And lastly, we want to keep microservices as lean as possible. You want to utilize the abstractions that's provided by API management, and you really don't want to do the heavy lifting over and over again for every single service that you want to expose to the world, because you want to drive your product. Thank you very much, and if there's any questions, you're more than welcome to ask.
Okay, anyone have any questions?
Right.
Okay, Alexi, here you
go. Where is cats? I can't see cats.
Okay, where do you stand on the cats versus dogs debate?
Yeah. No animals were harmed in the making of this presentation.
Anybody have any API related questions? Sorry if I missed that. Have you ever worked at Amazon?
No, I haven't worked at Amazon. Even though Amazon Cloud Service was developed by AWS South Africa, I haven't interacted with the team. But in terms of the API management platforms that I've worked with and have experience in, there's Apogee, there's Azure API management, there's the Azure the AWS API management, MuleSoft, I can't remember the rest, but I've had experience in not necessarily implementing it from end to end, but being on either side. And I've seen the benefits that API management brings to each organization that I've worked at.
On the other hand, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where all that experience comes from?
So, I'm from South Africa. About 3 months ago, there was a consultancy company that were looking for specific skill sets, and they couldn't find a skill set, so they reached out to their partners. Their partners in South Africa said, yes, we know someone. That's why I'm here. I've been here for 2 months. This is my first meetup for the Node.js, or the Sydney Node.js ninjas. Huh? It's quite a mouthful. Anyways, I've been brought on to be a solutions architect, and that's not necessarily that I provide an ivory tower type of approach to say that you shall mandate this. I'm actually involved in the code from day to day, mentoring developers, and basically the type of project that I'm involved in right now is that we're trying to renovate 80s system into the new era. So you can see why we actually push microservices quite a bit. And with that translation, we have done quite a bit of work in terms of to get developers to know Node.js. We do a bit of React as well, and we do mobile development. So yes, it's a digital transformation that we're actually pushing through at our client, and that is basically what I'm doing over here in Australia.
That was a very comprehensive answer. Kind of feel like you were being interviewed there. You did well.
Thank you.
Jess?
Curious, do you have an opinion on GraphQL and how it sits within API management?
So that's a very excellent question. It's because GraphQL, you are able to pick apart which items you want to be pulled down the pipe. So with API management, there are some vendors that have started to implement GraphQL as one of the ways that you can pick your items. In fact, there's another use case that became about, which, if we have to refer back to this slide over here, we knew that the consumers coming from product A should not see a certain data point from the API1 management, API microservices. So we're going to call it attribute A. And when it came down, because the policy that was applied for product A said we're going to strip this out and we don't want the consumer to know. So API management is able to do that stripping for you on that policy. They can also augment additional information. But in terms of GraphQL, you can just see it as another layer that would be interactive from the developer portal.
I think we have another question over here.
How's it?
I haven't heard that for a while.
Yeah, it has been. Under what, we've heard a lot of great things about API management. Under what circumstances would you not want to implement API management?
Okay, so we go back to the answer of, do you want to expose your API to the world as soon as possible? And it comes down to organic growth. Now, if you know that you're going to be locked in and create a wall garden, like if you're Apple with your with your apps, then yeah, sure, you can not get away with API management. But if you have to think about what Apple has done with their locked-in garden, they have locked you in with API management in an indirect way. So no matter how you're actually going to look at a successful implementation going into the future, you're probably going to have to look at API management seriously.